I promised to talk this morning a little bit more about perpetrator and victim. It's a very, very difficult subject. And what's important to understand is, somebody who's victimized is not stupid. Is not somebody who kind of asked for it. It's not somebody who is weak. We all can get victimized. And we all were victimized in different areas. I'm not saying that we're all sexually victimized, but we all have been victims of a certain situation. And maybe of a perpetrator. If he was after your money, after your body, was after power, gaining power over you, or whatever happened. Well, basically, the moment we feel abused, we're already victimized. And we all have situations in our lives where we felt abused. So there is a difference between being a victim and moving into a victim complex. So I try to explain this a little bit. Yesterday, what I brought forward is, if you're victimized, then the perpetrator is inside you as well. And often the patterns the perpetrator was using are for us the best defense if you feel a victim. And for instance, when you felt victimized by your father, and your father had a certain way of saying things and a certain way of bringing forward things, then when we are really in the corner, we see ourselves replying in the same way. Because it's the best defense. It seems to be the best defense. So we act out in the same way. That means, say that we are pushed in a corner. And we feel attacked, we feel unsafe. So often what is happening, or we're under big stress. So often what's happening is that we react in the same way. I can explain it in a very simple way. So you had a father who was humiliating you. I had a father who was very good in humiliating me. And I swore never to humiliate my children. But when the children were young, and there was a lot of stress, and they had to go to school, and everything was like, I would make also humiliating remarks. And then, of course, I could kind of hit myself on the head because I did it. But still, it's kind of almost automatic. And so often, this kind of patterns which are inside ourselves, we have the tendency to ignore them, not to accept them, not to take responsibility. It's because of the other that we had to act like this. It's because of these little schnoodles, these little children, who of course don't want to go to school. And of course want to stay home. So of course they kind of, are trying to slow the whole process as much as they can. At least I didn't have children who said in the morning, yay, we can go to school. Let me sleep. I cannot find my jacket. Where is my jacket? Yes, exactly. Oh, And the moment you go out of the door, oh, I need to do kaki. Yeah, even worse. But there are thousands of excuses to stall. Now, we all know this when we have children in our children. And then often how you respond is not with calm and easiness, even if you don't believe in the education system so much, because I'm not really a big believer in the education system, but still the whole stress. You know, we get upset, we get angry, and we start to act and say things we really don't like from ourselves. And part of the stress is because a rage is touched. And partly a rage is touched because we feel, again, the victim of the situation. We feel helpless, desperate. We cannot force it. We try so much to do it in a friendly way and nice, with a nice atmosphere. We made jokes. We bribed them a little bit. That doesn't work. So the perpetrator comes out. And that's interesting to look at your own personal perpetrator in different situations, because our own perpetrator in different situations is telling a lot. About the patterns which are part of you, the forbidden areas of yourself, that part which is not allowed to be there. So what is a victim complex? A victim complex is that we build in such a fear for these parts of ourselves that we cannot deal with it. So we have to stay the victim. And then, of course, you know, in this example I gave, when you shout at your children and you say things which are not that nice, and basically afterwards you think, oh my God, please, I hope I didn't broke their feeling of self-confidence. I didn't break it. Because we get nasty. And when you look into it, you know, if we cannot allow this, then even if we get nasty, because we cannot help it to get nasty in such situations, except angels like Georgi.
Because she's under a blanket.
And she really doesn't get nasty.
I abandon
Yeah, she just moves away.
Screw school.
Yeah, exactly. I get nasty. I get angry and fed up and choleric and victim behavior. Yeah, traumatic victim behavior in the way, you know. And I happily don't speak out, because here I can take responsibility. But, you know, first you get nasty and then you blame the other that you're getting nasty. Because you can take no responsibility, because it's not part of you. Then you have to take responsibility. You have to apologize. I'm very good in apologizing because of this, you know, to apologize to your father is a jerk. I'm very sorry. I never should have said that, but it's so stressful for me and it's difficult to deal with it. Yes, exactly. And then I say, yes, I cannot guarantee that I will not do it again. Yeah. To be honest about it. To be honest about it. Yeah. What? Yes, things like this you get back. But at least the conversation is possible, and it's not like, and you humiliate them or say something which is not nice, and you blame them for it as well. So you're a victim of the whole situation. And this is just a little example, but sometimes people are so deeply into it that the only thing what they can be in life is the victim, because the perpetrator is too difficult. It's too painful. So in kind of looking deeply into it, I became aware that these patterns which are there, they're part of the patterns of how my father especially was expressing himself. And seeing these patterns, recognizing them in you as well, kind of gave me a deep understanding. But it's the same patterns which are coming forward, the same feeling of powerlessness. And the strange thing is, this feeling of powerlessness, when I look at it intellectually, or even on a deeper feeling level, they're really not that important. I don't really even believe in it. They're not that important. The patterns which kind of are there, which are built in, they're not that important. I don't really even believe in it. I don't believe that school is that important, as an example, to be stressed about. Then they're late, so then they're late. No, if they don't want to go to school, don't go to school. Education is okay, but I think that school, most of it is to learn to calculate, to learn to read, which is important.
To sit still.
Yeah, so that's what I don't like so much from school. And but basically, the children, when they are motivated, can learn very quickly by themselves. And also part of our children kind of, were autodidactic, and they learned by themselves. They got their eindexamen, their final exams, and they all got it one way or the other. It's all possible. But what you need to really kind of, to learn is to enjoy learning, to be motivated, to have a purpose in it. If there is no purpose in it, it becomes almost a punishment. It becomes all on authority of others. Let me kind of finish the story a little bit, because it's really about perpetrator and victim, and not so much about the education system. Okay, thank you. So, but so part is that what I meant yesterday, that, whatever happens, the perpetrator, the attitude of the perpetrator, the energy of the perpetrator is part of you, became part of you, because when we experience something, we experience not only the impact on ourselves, which we should take very, very serious, but we also experience the one who is expressing in a way that gives this impact on ourselves. So let's go to a little bit more serious subject of perpetrator victim. Say that you were raped. It's not only that, the rape is there as something, which is psychologically had an incredible impact on you. But you also, and that's the most difficult thing, feel the rapist. You feel the horniness behind it and the power structure behind the ugliness which is there, the clear hatred which is there, the guilt of the rapist as well, the whole conflict which is there. It has many, many, many colors, and you feel it. And something comes into your life, something comes into your world. You want to get rid of. You don't want this. It's not even the act so much, but it's especially the energy which is around the act. With 1 million questions, could I have done something that it wouldn't have happened? Did I make a mistake? But often, after you are raped, you're looking for cleansing. You want to wash yourself. You want to get the rapist out. You clean and clean and clean, and it doesn't really work. You don't get the rapist out. And that's horrible. You don't get the energy out, which was violating you. And like all energy, this energy is containing all the information of the moment. It's multidimensional. The guilt, the hatred, the shame, which which was in the rapist, we feel it. And this builds a whole psychology on itself. The psychology that sometimes we feel sorry for the rapist. We feel compassion for the rapist. And we can start a relationship with a rapist based on this. I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm just bring forward structures of reactions which are there. And that's very difficult because, if you feel sorry for the rapist, because your heart opens to this situation, which is not an unhealthy thing, maybe. But what you get back when you feel compassion from society around you is that you have to be angry, you have to fight, you have to destroy the one who went over your borders. It's very bad. The person is the devil himself or herself. And especially when it's sexually, and I took a big thing like a rape, but rape is happening a lot. It's not something which is seldom. But what we all went through is that something went over our borders. And I don't immediately want to call it rape, but we feel perpetrated. Sometimes it helps to take it serious. The impact on yourself. Yeah. So it is quite important to take it serious, to take serious whatever is the impact in the first instance. So if we look at it in a more spiritual level, this whole dance between victim and perpetrator. The perpetrator gets its power by victimizing. It's like looking for power in the victim, because you have a victim it gives you a false sense of power, because the power is not from inside you. It's a power you search to be established outside yourself.
The last sentence.
The perpetrator, I'll just repeat it, is looking for power. So in the background of a perpetrator, you often see a victim. He lost connection with power. So he perpetrates, he's looking for power, but he's looking for power in the victim. By victimizing, it gives him a sense of power. So he's not looking for it inside himself, because we all have this incredible power inside ourselves. But for whatever reason, the perpetrator lost the connection with it. So he's looking for power in the victim. By victimizing, it gives him a sense of power. The victim has the feeling that all the power is with the perpetrator. Also, is losing connection with power. It looks like a push and it is a pull, and it looks like a pull and it is a push at the same time. So both sides are wounded. And sometimes when we are victimized, we become a perpetrator. And sometimes we don't become a perpetrator. It's not that everybody who is abused becomes an abuser. It's not that everybody who has been raped becomes a rapist. But the chance when you are abused, sexually abused, because we're talking about sexuality, but on whatever level, that you will become an abuser is much higher. And sometimes we see this moving through families. That there is a history of abuse through generations. From one generation to the next generation. Abuse victims through generations, and abusers through generations. It's a repeating of a pattern which is the same, and we see this in this, but we see it in every family with a lot of patterns which are repeated and repeated and repeated, like this kind of, rage which is there when the child is too late at school. Because you cannot stand the feeling of powerlessness, you cannot relax in it, which is also a non-dual quality. So it is based on the loss of connection with the qualities, where we kind of move in a duality. So the quality which is behind a perpetrator and a victim is the quality of power. So the healing agent is to kind of, move back to the quality of power which is in all of us. And this is not a power which is active. When it becomes active, it becomes the perpetrator, because the power needs to be acknowledged outside yourself. And if it's acknowledged, you can feel the power. It's a power which is enough inside yourself, which has a lot of different voices. The understanding that in the end, you cannot be hurt. a lot of things can be damaged, but in the end, there is an area inside yourself which cannot be damaged. In the ability to put borders and to stay within the borders. That doesn't mean that somebody will not move over the borders. But it gives a very much a psychological clarity to yourself. In a certain strength, an inner strength which is there in whatever the situation is.
It can be narrowing, kind of,
Every trauma is narrowing.
and the power.
The power can narrow, but sometimes what you see when a person is in a difficult situation and somebody tries to victimize, that the power becomes very, very strong. That it's absolutely the opposite, and not a power to hurt the other person, but a power to stop it. And that can be a very strong power. That can be pure light. That can be an immediately physical action which takes place. In which the control is back, because there is this loss of control. And that doesn't mean that things cannot kind of end badly, but it's a total different position you're in. Because at a certain moment, the power can also indicate here you are out of control. But you're fully there, you're fully connected with the situation. And when we are fully connected with the situation, we're less victimized, whatever is happening.
And that was what I meant to say. When you feel the power within yourself and you can connect with it, and in the end, there's always the power to rely on. So whatever happens in my life, I always have the power. It can make you stop making full connection with them. Only because of you can rely on the power.
The other side is that it enables you to really connect. It's often when we feel powerless in a certain situation that we break the connection because it's too difficult, it's powerless. But sometimes it's the only thing what you can do is break a connection, break a relationship, because it's moving over borders again and again and again and again. When there is a loss of power, it could happen that we're not able to break the relationship because we feel powerless, we feel dependent on the other. We lost the connection with our own power. And this is situations maybe some of us know as well. It's not something shameful about, it's not something bad. They're lessons of life. This is how we learn. Through pain, through being hurt. And of course, when you look at the whole area of sexuality, there is such a confusion about sexuality that makes it even more difficult. More shameful. It's much more easy when you walk over the Grote Markt in Groningen and somebody is lifting your wallet. Or stealing your bike, which is quite common in Groningen. It's horrible. I was living in Groningen when the oldest children were very young. And so I was basically with two babies on the market, and I come back and somebody stole my bike with 2 baby seats. So what do you do with the little children? It's kind of, I really felt victimized at that moment. How could you steal a bike with 2 baby seats on top of it?
Because you have 2 babies also.
Maybe.
Mostly not.
Or maybe, baby seats are worth money and you needed the money.
It's just an opportunity.
Or it was just an opportunity or whatever.
Because a guy with 2 babies can't chase you.
This is what the perfect perpetrator. Just as an example, but that's much more easy. There's much less shame, fear, isolation involved. It's a story you easily tell to others. To get over the shock, you can share it. But when something moves over sexual borders, there is almost always this doubt. Did I ask for it? What did I do wrong? It's very humiliating. So you don't share it that easy. The things we don't talk about so easily, we don't share so easily. And of course, immediately in our mind comes forward, yeah, but you cannot compare these two things. No, nothing is comparable with each other. You cannot compare it. But the impact on the nerve system and how the nerve system is reacting on it, the shock, it looks like each other. You cannot compare, but on shocks, our nerve system is reacting in quite the same way. Yeah, it's worse when it is somebody who's very close to you, or it's inside the relationship, or it's your father or your brother. Or, no, that makes it more easy. Or stole the bike. Yeah, doesn't matter. But then you come home and you open up your wallet and you see that 200 euros is gone. And you left it home. It's also complicated. That makes it more complicated.
I don't understand.
So you left your wallet at home, you come home and you know that you had 200 euros in your wallet and
it's missing.
And it's missing.
Okay. Yes, now I
So is it one of the children? Is it your husband? And you ask your husband, no. Or are you in a state of dementia? Don't you remember it? You get very confused, especially when you ask, did somebody take some money for something? No, nobody did. So you start to doubt yourself. Lots of reactions are possible. So we all have this range of reactions. But in the basis is that something moves over our borders and we are perpetrated. Let's start with that. So we are the victim. So what happens when you are the victim? Of course, there's the reaction of the shock. But it's also like light is dimming. It becomes dark. So what would happen if we allow ourselves to experience to be totally the victim, to surrender to it, to the end? victimized, and we surrender to it because we understand the futile. Why is it very healing?
That's how I notice it. There's often an inner conflict that we are victimized as well, and just allowing that part that feels as a victim to allow it and learn to de-identify it and very willing to be close to things in it. So usually it becomes, if we go to the next stage in the process, look at when you get perpetrator and get identified as a victim. I don't know if I understand.
Yeah. So in a way, you go beyond the conflict of being a victim, the shame, that it's bad or whatever, you're helpless.
Yes.
And if you move all the way with the victim, you come in this part of yourself, which is indestructible. You come back into your power. So if we go all the way, we go back on the power. It's the conflict in the middle. So sometimes we are victimized and we are able to move back to our power. And sometimes from this source of power, we feel compassion with the perpetrator.
If you start at a perpetrator,
We come there. We take the other side as well. But say that this is happening. So often the real trauma is not so much what happened to you. That's already traumatic and difficult, but the real trauma is how the environment is reacting on it. You don't really feel so much victimized, but you become a victim. You're made a victim. It's confusing. It doesn't mean that we were not victimized, but if we go all the way with it, we go back to its source. And the source is the power.
Mag ik zeggen dat, can I say that it's kind of analog to having a big illness, sickness, having cancer, and everybody pities you, and are you this and this and this, and you have gone somehow meeting your dead point, and I'm free with it.
Yeah.
Also
So sometimes we are, Janneke, sometimes we are victimized by a disease. We feel victimized.
Yeah.
And the moment we can accept it and move, we move to another point inside ourselves where we're able to contain it. And the whole environment is telling how horrible it is what you have. And your fate is so horrible. And you don't feel it yourself. So it's isolating. So the isolation can be more difficult as the disease at a certain moment. And more traumatizing. This can be with loss. This can be with a lot of things which are happening in our lives.
But also maybe this is going too far. You have once said everybody's now always, but now more maybe dienstbaar in negative or positive sense to each other. And in a way you can then the perpetrator, the one that rapes you, kind of is going too far, maybe. Dienstbaar, what is it?
Of a service
Of a service
to the victim.
Put you in the put
Let's put off the audio and put
in the
it
well
on the mute
because
because
it's stroke.
I will repeat it.
don't also for the video.
Well,
Just turn off the audio. It doesn't affect anybody.
Okay. So Georgi changed something so
Okay.
that we can hear you also, the people there.
Yeah.
So I will not repeat all what you said.
Yeah.
But I will repeat it now because it was not on the audio.
But I didn't
Yeah.
get your question.
So basically
But
the question
somehow
is,
it
Oh.
looks to me that like yesterday or the day before yesterday that this man yesterday with Georgi, this man woman thing at home or where go under it and deeper and deeper. That this quarrel or it's kind of personal, echtpaar, marriage, one war can bring you to what's under there, and there's the source, and somehow can, of course. I can't say it's very good now, but I see some.
It's not in the power of somebody else to do that.
But
It's
it
important
can bring
to
you
understand.
there.
You can say it's a service. Every experience we have in life is a service of the whole. And that's something else as how we act. Often we act out because we don't want to experience.
Yeah.
And that's not really so much a service. If you have a perpetrator inside yourself and you're able to experience the perpetrator fully, that is a service to the whole. Not to experiencing it by acting out, but just to allow it inside yourself to become alive. So what would happen if the perpetrator is totally alive inside yourself? You go all the way with the perpetrator. Where would you end up?
Kind of hell,
At the soul?
At the source.
Uh-huh.
Back to the power. They're both born from power. And if we can go all the way inside ourselves as an experience, that's both for the victim as for the perpetrator. If we can go all the way, it brings us back in the source. The perpetrator is made of power, as the victim is made of power. It's power which is blocked, which kind of this split is there. So if we are free in our power, we move very easily to perpetrator and victim back to power. If there is no blockage.
It's natural.
It's natural. But then when we look at the whole area of sexuality, in which basically the males are the perpetrators and the females are the victims, that's generally how we look at it. This is for generations. This is damage which is there for generations. It becomes very complex. Because who is in this dimension free in his own power? Males walk around either with an aggression towards females, sometimes hatred, because they feel that they are made bad. They cannot carry the rejection which is there on the male part, sometimes for generations. And females walk around with a lot of rage towards men and a lot of powerlessness, difficulty with men. Because they feel victimized already for generations, not seen, not appreciated, abused. And now I'm talking about sexuality, but this is also just gender-like. A female is not equal to a male in our society. Still not. We think that we are a very developed society where everybody is equal. But that's not true. A female... Yeah, but let's kind of keep it simple, because it's also races, it's also the color you have, but males and females in a lot of jobs don't earn the same money. even if they do the same work. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So there is no equality.
You mean there is no equality?
There is, in our society right now, there is no equality. It's just not there. We often look at the Netherlands as an enlightened country, but
Maybe in another.
you know, we are open to other races. Everybody has a chance here, and sadly enough, it is not like that. But you see how deeply it's embedded. It's embedded in our society. It's embedded in all of us. It's embedded in the churches where we go to. There is no equality. So of course this gives rage. And how do you think that males are feeling about that?
Wonderful. I think I'm talking from out of the
Yes, exactly. But that's great that you say wonderful.
bit of a joke.
Some males feel wonderful because it gives them value. They are somebody. They're more important. And of course they're more important. And why are they more important? Of course. A horse is a horse.
Equal.
Yeah. But a lot of males are walking around with shame, with guilt, with a difficulty with it. They have to perform, but it's not fair. So it's creating a whole area of stress. And now we're talking about inequality, which is there in society, but also this has an influence on the whole expression of sexuality. There is no equality. There is no togetherness in which there is equality. Sometimes there is in a relationship, but it's difficult. It's difficult also by the roles which are played. You know, because there is no equality, you know, we can get equality by saying, you know, it's as important to be at home, take care of the children, take care of the house, as it is to have a job outside. But that's not equality. That looks like equal. If you clean the house right, you're equal to me. So it's a mess. It's a mess we all were born in. It's a mess. You know, how do you make love? How do you equally meet each other? So when are you a good lover as a male? When are you a good lover as a female? When are you successful as a male? There's a group of males, they think they are successful when they kind of, you know, fuck corner and she had at least 10 orgasms, then you're successful. Is it you're a good female if you show that you have a lot of orgasms? If they're real or not is not that important, but but it gets a form, you know, it gets a certain form, you know, which kind of it has to be. And if it's in this form, then it will be okay. So when are you successful as a couple? if you fuck once every 3 months, is that successful? Or there is something wrong with your couplehood. If you have sex, once a week, that's mediocre. And who wants to be mediocre? Once a week is, that's what you should do at least. So twice a week is more safe of each other. And you have to be careful because, if you don't give him enough sex, you know what he will do. He will to the Canarian Islands. Good luck. No, but whatever. It will go wrong. And who's to blame? It's very complicated. You see how complicated it is, all these beliefs, all these ideas around it.
All about form.
It's all about form. It's all about the form, how it has to be. It's all about control. Because if we say this form is the right form, there is control in it. It's connected with beliefs. Beliefs is the way we keep something in form. And this is what we have to work with. Because, generally, we are what we are. This is where we are as human beings. It doesn't mean that we can kind of, cannot move to a deeper level inside ourselves. But this is also where we are in our evolution right now, generally. These are the difficulties we meet. And when you say it like this, it seems to be so hopeless, because we all know these patterns. But when you are in a relationship with somebody, it doesn't matter if this is a female or a male, or it doesn't matter. But when you're in a relationship with somebody, what is the most important part of this relationship? Love. And what would happen if we really allow this love to the depth? We're moving beyond form. We're moving beyond polarity. Also, love is a non-dual quality. So the moment there is a deep love between a couple, there is an equality at the same time. There is a togetherness. It is beyond form. It is in the moment. It's the moments that we lose the connection with our heart, or it's not there, that we move into those patterns in forms. And then it becomes all about form, how to do it. When we get insecure, when we lose the connection with our heart. So it's not as black as it looks like. There is the possibility to make a choice to move out of it, and the possibility to move in of it. And the choice is basically simple. What is essential in your relationship? Where do you choose for? Do you choose for being in control? Because, in every relationship, there is a lot of fear. So if we choose for the fear as the most important, we try to be in control. Because then we can control the other so that we don't need to meet our fears. But if we can choose, okay, irrespective of my fears, I choose for my heart. And that is how relationships are starting. We don't start a relationship normally if there is not this heart connection, if we don't love each other. So if we're loyal to the love, we're able to let go a lot of form. That doesn't mean that it's gone, it's still inside yourself, as the perpetrator is still inside yourself. The forms are there. But we can experience the forms, but we don't need to give the forms form. We can experience the feelings which are behind the form, the forms, insecurity, not exactly knowing how. Fear, anger sometimes, hatred sometimes. But if we allow ourselves to experience this, to feel this, and stay in connection with the heart, things start to get to transform. So there is this incredible gift, although it's very complex. And this is not only in relating, but this is also in sexuality. And the difficulty with sexuality is that we make this big split. For me, and this is again a personal thing, one of the most disgusting things in my childhood was that my mother had two towels. One towel for the upper body and one towel for the lower body. And I thought that was disgusting. If she would have used one towel, there would be nothing disgusting about it.
You couldn't grab the wrong
That's
towel.
her dish.
You understand? Yeah. But it's something very disgusting for me as a child that there were two towels. Like there is and I think that is the disgust kind of, my mother brought with her epigenetic and how she was brought up, that, this part of the body doesn't really belong. And that's exactly how the towels was. For the upper part of the body, you had this beautiful towel, soft. And then you had these old towers with holes in it, which was for the lower part of the body. You have a whole falling apart from.
It's really what I felt on the whole.
Yeah.
It's good to understand it.
That is epigenetic, and that's epigenetic also the split we make between our heart, our mind, and when the pelvic is taking over. Oh, dangerous. There's something it's a little shameful. You shouldn't put so much energy in it, and you should not be too much connected with it. So that's a split also. That's a split also between heart and our sexual organs, our whole sexuality. And then it becomes really difficult. Because, what I said before, the heart is so much the answer. But when the heart is not there, it becomes very complex. It becomes obligation, something you have to do. And of course, when we are in love, there is a lot of heart there. When we're newly in a relationship, there's a lot of heart there. But we get hurt because we're not always seen. We feel sometimes humiliated. We give the other in the relationship a lot of authority. So what the other thinks, how the other sees us, is what we are. So we get hurt. And when we get hurt, there is less heart. And when there is not an open connection, it becomes even more complex, more difficult. So the whole heart connection between love and sexuality, they belong together. They're part of each other. But what is in between it is so often pain, fear of losing control. It's the solar plexus, rejection, loneliness, feeling left alone, feeling forsaken. In the end, he always leaves me alone. He turns around and he snores. And I'm laying there. Okay, what now?
So
It's only about him.
You leave your past relationships out of it.
I'm the one laying there, but she's the one snoring. Okay.
You and Peter.
So you see the whole movement, and of course, when I give these examples, they're examples, we know. This is what we make jokes about, what we laugh about. But when you look into it, we laugh about it, we make jokes about it because it's so painful and it is so common. So the most important thing I think we talked about today is to make a choice to keep your heart involved. And that means that we have to have the courage to move over or beyond rejection, not being seen, loneliness, rage, anger, distrust. And not that you have to trust your partner. It starts not with trusting your partner. It's about trust yourself in a relationship, because everything we put with the partner is a lack of trust in ourselves in a relationship. It's not about if your partner loves you enough. It's about if you love your partner enough. Yeah. You cannot, if you appreciate yourself enough. Yeah. On the background, love is always there. And if we choose for that, it makes things a lot more easy. And it frees us from a lot of patterns. But sometimes there's been so much hurt and it's not able to communicate it. And so that it gets lost. And still it's there, because deep inside we still feel it. No, but it's a guarantee for a relationship you can believe in. From your side. Yeah. No, it's not about form. And to be able to be more free in forms, we have to move to the depths of ourselves. And this is one of the entrances. So the other important thing is to go all the way. Because if we really go all the way, and I'm not saying all the way outside yourself, but all the way inside yourself, allow the pain which is there all the way. It will bring you back to source. Allow the feeling of being a victim all the way, victimhood all the way. It brings you back to the source. allow the feeling of wanting to be a perpetrator, or the need to be a perpetrator, or the perpetrator inside yourself all the way. It will bring you back to the source. We explained that before. It's letting go of a lot of fear, because we're gaining control. If you know the perpetrator, you don't need to act it out so much anymore. And you can take responsibility. It's a big difference. If we know our rage and we take responsibility for it, this is my rage, you don't need to be so destructive anymore. If we know our fear and we can understand it is my fear, we don't need to control so much anymore, ourselves and the world around ourselves. And that's partly going all the way, allowing it to be there, to feel it, to allow it as it is. And basically that's all what we are teaching all the time. Okay, so let's leave it like this.